harvesting.
No set meal times. You'd eat when you were hungry. We're getting ready to put the shellfish on. So, you know, while these things are cooking, our family can have shellfish. They can have some of the nasat, which is a cornmeal porridge, you know, which always sticks to you. It's almost like oatmeal. You know? But once these things are done, everyone just basically, if they're hungry, they come and get something to eat.
Is this fire always kept going, or do you cover the coals so that in the morning they're still warm, or what?
24 hours we would burn, because the fire was a tool too, you know, so we constantly needed it.
Is the acorn squash native to this area?
It is, yeah.
We eat that a lot.
Yeah. It used to grow wild all over the place. But people just started taking the seed and seeing how it would take, and people are planting them themselves now, and you know, all kinds of squashes and things that grew here. Gourds.
I noticed y'all have some pumpkins over there. Do y'all eat the pumpkins too?
Yeah.
What do you do with
Dry
them?
Right now we've got some of the young girls, they're helping spiral cut and sew it and just hang so they sun dry. They're spiral cutting it right now, so we can have it stored away.
Let's go. Did you use bows and arrows to hunt?
The men did. I wouldn't be. Men always dealt with things that were life-taking. Girls, women, we were life givers, so you wouldn't see us doing those things, you know, taking life.
What kinds of meat did you eat?
Today we're eating deer meat, any herbivore,
but man, it's nice to get that
even skunk.
corn in August, because then the rest of it, you know, you can
That's
kind
an
of add
herbivore, right?
berries as a sweetener, you know, add cornbread.
But right now you probably get big animals now. You could even hunt black bear. You could even hunt small things that were still getting out of your garden. You can grab it. Yeah.
Fire pit would kind of indicate a generation living in this household. So you'd have grandparents, aunts, uncles, and you'd have cousins and, you know, children living in this house. These are the beds that you guys are sitting on. These beds would have been much more lower to the ground and twice as wide, coming up close to the fire pit, but also wide enough to fit two people side by side comfortably. You'd sleep anywhere from 15 to 20 of your extended family members in this household. The grandparents would have the head of the household, which is the most comfortable spot. And then you'd see the kids in the middle, and then you'd see the parents more closer to the door, you know, in case anything happened, you know, they would be there to protect the rest of them. These furs that you guys are sitting on, some of you guys sitting on white-tailed deer, there's gray fox, red fox, you guys sitting on black bear, some more red fox, this guy right here is a moose. So you've seen all these different animals down here at that time period. These beds, like I said, 7-8 inches of fur, so thick, very thick. You'd also find older mats and things like you see on the walls underneath these beds to level them out. These mats you see on the walls, you'd also see on the floors. You would never see a dirt floor in a traditional Wampanoag household like this. You know, because of these mats actually take 60 hours to make by hand by our staff, one woman. That's why we don't put them on the floor. We have thousands of visitors sometimes a day. So that, you know, they mess up the mats. But these mats also are for decoration. You know, they liven up the house with a little bit of color. But they're also for insulation purposes. So you'd have another layer a little higher up. And what will happen is the heat will rise in this dome-shaped house and fall behind these mats and keep on circulating like a convectionary oven. This house will reach 75 to 80 degrees in the dead of winter because of these mats acting as a double layer of insulation to the household. You guys look around and see these bags and things hanging up. We didn't have any kind of dressers or closets. So any kind of personal belongings, tools, weapons, clothing, toys, things like that, you'd hang up in these bags that you see. The more colorful ones, like this one right here, is made out of plant fibers, milkweed, dogbane, false nettle. You'll take those fibers, dry those plant stalks out, take the fibers inside, roll them on your thigh, and then dye them with different non-edible things. That's also what you would use to make your legging garters to weave to keep them your leggings up. Red you can get from bloodroot, white was a natural, and black you can get from charcoal. Just like these these colors in these maps that you see, the same kind. You would never use edible things to dye things because that's considered wasteful because you would eat those. So you would use poisonous berries, roots, barks, things like that to get these colors. You guys, this frame is cedar. Cedar's rot resistant and bug resistant. So you wouldn't find any kind of bugs in here. You wouldn't start seeing rot until 15, 20 years. So this whole frame will last 20 years. This bark is tulip poplar today, all the way from Maryland. This bark will last us 2 or 3 years. And the reason why we go all the way to Maryland to get this bark is because our ancestors back in the time period used elm and chestnut. And elm and chestnut are no longer here in this region. But those elm and chestnut trees back then in the time period were so large that 5 men could barely hug fingertip to fingertip around the base of the trees. 6, 7, sometimes 8 feet in diameter. So that bark that you're getting off those big massive trees was about 4 inches thick. It would have lasted you 10 years. So traditionally you'd probably have to rebark this house once. Whereas now with acid rain and things like that and not using our traditional bark that we would have, this is going to last us not that long. You guys are welcome to look in these bags if you like. There's some tools and different stuff in them. Ask questions. Any long hair like this, they cut it off. It was forbidden to have long hair. We had to dress. We couldn't dress like this. We couldn't live in houses like this. We had to dress English, and we had to do that. They sent our native people even to boarding schools. Carlisle Indian School, which is an Indian school that a lot of native people were sent to. Actually, Wampanoag people were sent there as well. But what happened was the first book or Bible ever printed here that we can believe that, well, we know, is John Eliot's Bible. And that was a Bible that was written in the Wampanoag language. Harvard, one of the top Ivy League schools in the nation, was built and founded to teach Native Americans how to read and write right here in Massachusetts. So, because of that, trading with the French, the Dutch, and the English for hundreds of years before the English even got here, you would have known how to say hi in French, Dutch, and in English, and you would have said hi. So if you were, I didn't know where you're from. I would say hi to you in those different languages until I knew where you were from. And then at that time, I would know where you were from, you know, and then I would know what you would want, because certain things, certain people wanted certain, you know, goods like beaver furs, or certain people wanted the wampum, or certain people wanted this. And then we would trade. So what happened was, there was 2 young Wampanoag men in that first graduating class in Harvard. One had died on a shipwreck out on the down near Martha's Vineyard, and the other one had died, and they're not sure what happened to him. And those 2 men were the ones that helped write down the language, and it was just like the English language back then. You write it out however it sounded. However it sounded, it was right. There was no correct spelling. You just wrote it. And that's the time that it was the first time that was ever a written language. And they first started writing it to convert it into that Bible, into that language. So because of that, our language was lost for quite some time. There was a woman in our community, Jessie Littledoe Baird, who went to MIT and studied linguistics. The linguistics department had just started this new program with Native American languages. You know, they wanted to go to different nations, but they wanted to start right here first in Massachusetts. And what happened was, because of the charts and things in Algonquin, which is kind of like Spanish, it's a big umbrella, and depending on where you are, you hear different accents and things. That's what it was. So she went around to neighboring communities, and then she came back, and she had to speak to herself on a recorder to become fluent and work on her fluency. And then she started teaching classes, and that's been going on for 20 years. This year is our 20-year anniversary that our language has been returned home. She has older kids, but she had a younger daughter who was about 11 now, and she's our first fluent speakers in years. But, I mean, you can still make your kids walk a traditional lifestyle, but the problem is that a lot of our elders were forced into Christianity, so a lot of them are, you know, Christians and go to church and things, and not really focused on more traditional aspects. But then you have the ones who broke apart from that and still focus on our traditional ways and make sure that their kids are involved and their kids grow up. Like, that was something that happened to me. Both of my parents are from the same tribe. So my father and them, they made sure that I had my hair. I've had my hair long since I was little. I had no choice. I couldn't cut it until you turned 18. But then after having it long, you don't want to cut it. You look weird, probably.